Hello and welcome back. We are playing Assassin's Creed Syndicate on PS5. As you can probably notice, there is a slight lighting issue with the game. It doesn't seem able to handle direct sunlight as well as, it did on the PS4. It's probably processed. There's probably a big technical explanation, but I thought I'd give it a try, see if still makes a good background for the game. So let's see. Let's get a view that might be fun to take a look at. Nah. That's backwards view. Nope. That's a good... I like that view, but no. I'm thinking we'll do probably the earliest... Yep, we'll go with this one here. We'll see if it's too distracting, see if it works, and let me know when what you think when you do this. And yeah, we'll just go from there. So, wanted to kind of do something that wasn't specifically a lesson from the books like I've done before, just for this trial run, see if I can come back here and see if it's not too distracting to have the lights flickering the way they do when we do the game. And that will ultimately be up to, well, any viewers I get, basically. So yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of communications and religion and the modern age. So there are just like a couple of stories I want to tell. I'll start out with something that I wasn't expecting to tell on this, but had come up quite recently. So what my church does, the local church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, here where I live locally, but they get these big text, group texts to all the members when there's like some sort of activity or something going on. So I wasn't really paying attention, but I happened to glance down, or I looked down on my phone after a while, and I was wondering, okay, who is swearing at me so much? Because there was some pretty strong swear words going on. I've seen worse, but it's just like, okay, what's going on? So, who's texting me swear words? So I looked it up, and what had happened was that they'd accidentally included somebody who, near as I can tell, maybe wasn't even in the same state. It was an out-of-state area code, which, people move here all the time, and, I'm in Alaska, and so, it's not that uncommon to have someone with that sort of number, but apparently this person was not a part of the group initially, and so had started out by texting certain questions like, who is this? And, what is this? What is going on? And the responses are interesting that the church members gave. First, they respond almost monosyllabically. They'd say church, or they'd say somebody's name. So it's like church or Walter or whatever it was. At one point, when this person kept inquiring, somebody said, I don't know. And it struck me as interesting because, it bothered me for a while, and I had to kind of sleep on it to kind of figure out what was bothering me about it, and suddenly realized is that the initial question that this person asked was not answered. So put yourself in the mind of this person. You start to receive these random texts. You don't know what they're talking about. You don't know what's going on with them. So it could be work, it could be something else. So there could be something big going on there, and you just don't know it. So you send in the immediate response, which is, who is this? Followed by, okay, what is this? What is going on? And the only responses you're getting are, church, which, what church? Or, somebody's name, which is like, okay, I'm not sure I know a Walter, or I do know Walter, this doesn't sound like Walter, things like that. And further inquiries, you get like, I don't know, or things like that, and it's not a good, concise answer. And I had to wonder why nobody from my church had said, okay, we're with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we're in this location, these texts are about group activity we're doing, it was meant for members of the church. We apologize if you're not a member of the church or you're not in the area. These were never meant to be sent to you. And, if somebody had just done that, this person would probably have been like, oh, okay, sorry, I understand the confusion. No, I'm not a member of church. If you wouldn't mind removing me from the group text. And it would have been all cool. Instead, this person apparently got more and more frustrated, eventually swearing at everybody in doing that. And just, from a communication standpoint, does not make a good impression on people. Regardless of your religion, regardless of who you represent, whether you're a business, whether you're a religion, whether you're just yourself, this would not make a good impression on people. I think the only saving grace I can think of is that this person possibly didn't know what church it was or who they were talking about. But that being said, if this person isn't religious, might have a bit of a issue or problem going forward with religious people. Like, they include me in group text and they wouldn't tell me what it was about. What's wrong with these, religious people? So in that regard, I think when you're representing anyone, whether it's a church, whether it's an organization, whatever you're representing, whether it's work, whatever, you have to kind of keep that in mind and just remember that, sometimes mistakes like this happen. It's inevitable, but, to see it from the other person's point of view and to see that, even and especially kind of mistakes like this will lead to bad impressions by people about your beliefs, whatever you're representing. They will think poorly of what you're representing because of how you present yourself in a situation where, that was just a mistake, essentially. So I'm going to jump from that, lead into what I was originally going to talk about with communications, and that's kind of the online communications we have. And one of the blessings of having an online community is that provided you speak the language, you can communicate with anybody in the world. And you can have these exceptional discussions with people about whatever. And it's a good way to find out what people think about, how they have the outreach, how they do that. But one of the problems is that a lot of people don't think of it that way. They think of it essentially as a place with no consequences, where you can say or do anything to anybody. You can use as many vulgarities as you like. You can, just denigrate, just hate on a lot of people. Troll, I think, is the correct terminology nowadays. But so when you're doing communication online, I think your approach should be, well, I don't necessarily agree with this person, but maybe we can communicate what's going on. I was actually called naive the other day for saying, hey, why don't you just listen to what the other person has to say? It's like, no, that's not how we do things. It's okay, whatever. But it's like that. But I had an interesting Twitter conversation about, my religion, my religious beliefs. And it went in a lot of different directions. But there was a particularly good one where I had with two people on Twitter where I was able to correct some misapprehensions they had about my religion and my beliefs, and they were able to correct some misapprehensions that I had about their religion, their beliefs, and it was, a little bit rocky here and there, but ultimately it was a good conversation, and I think we were all enlightened because of this. We came off better knowing more about other people. Now, that was one end of the spectrum, and I that's ultimately how online conversations should be. You should be able to have that level of communication. But I reached the polar opposite, and this was a bit further than I've seen. Well, I won't say that, but this was, pretty high up there. Now, I'm used to people basically denigrating my religious beliefs when I express them. I've got this, these things where I'll express my own views about, say, biblical stories or about, say, Pontius Pilate, or, the events in the New Testament or the Old Testament or whatever. And I'll express my opinions, which aren't necessarily the most popular or the most generally agreed upon opinions, because I have unique opinions. I'm weird that way. And, I'll have a good conversation going, then all of a sudden somebody say, well, I just look at your profile page and it's like, no wonder your views are so screwed up. You're Mormon. And it'll be really funny. So I'm actually kind of used to that sort of response and having to deal with people who kind of have this misconception that he can't be well educated if he's Mormon type of thing, which is more amusing than anything else. But I encountered someone like this in the same sort of conversation about religion and beliefs. And it was really interesting because this person started out very strong, very aggressive, and just, you believe this, and this, and lining up essentially a lot of misconceptions about our religions, but firing them at me in a way that's not like, well, I don't think your religion is true because it's because your religion is false and this is why, and you are just part of a false religion, blah, blah, blah. It was very, very aggressive and point blank, and I pretty much answered all of his. I'm pretty sure it was a he. You can never tell online, but I answered pretty much all of his objections and kept coming back for more. He said I obviously had not read very many scriptures, which I conceded that after the Book of Mormon and Old and New Testament and Dead Sea Scrolls and the Apocrypha. Yeah, he's right. I haven't read much beyond those, but which I thought was a good response. But I think it completely ignored it. He didn't respond to that at all. Anyway, this person was very aggressive and very you're very ignorant, pushing it. And at one point, I stopped discussing my religious beliefs with him, but kept talking with him because he made a statement that was very, very interesting in my viewpoint, which was the thing you have to do with the Mormons is, you have to hit them with just a sharp, hard shock. If you do that, you can usually push them outside of their, super in the falseness of their beliefs. You just need to be very harsh and very, very mean to them. That's how you do that. And I'm just like, wait, this doesn't sound like, someone who's, engaging or representing their religious beliefs, but it sounds more like someone who is, well, an abuser, actively abusing people, and this is their approach. They need just a hard shock to knock them out of it. And I said point blank, I don't believe, if we ever met in person, I don't trust that you won't attack me. I didn't really clarify beyond that because, he moved past it, but it was essentially, his attitude made me think that if I were not going to change my religions based on what he said, if I weren't going to conform and capitulate to whatever he said, that he would get angry with me and attack me. And to the point where I'm actually, I'm not describing him very well, I'm afraid, but I was actually afraid for his, wife, his children, anyone he's involved with, he's going to be abusive towards and violent. And he used some of, what's his name? Shoot. A 16th or 17th century Christian philosopher. It'll come to me later, but yeah, he used some of his words to kind of justify his attitude, and they were along the lines of, being firm in your faith, being, what is it? Just standing up for your beliefs, willing to fight for them, that sort of thing, to justify kind of his violent actions. And I told him point blank that he was misinterpreting it, and his attitudes were less of a Christian, less of what Christ would approve of, and more of what the devil wanted, which was combat and fighting. And kind of the conversation devolved from there, him just maintaining that I couldn't possibly possess the intellect to understand his point of view, and I was obviously misinterpreting what he's saying, and I'd never read that one philosopher, which I have read. I'm bad with names. And so that's kind of where we left off, with him, stating these things. And that was kind of the opposite of communication. So to get back to the point, which was communication, whatever your belief system, whether you're of my religion, whether you're of a different religion, it's important when you communicate your ideas to be respectful of other people's beliefs and ideas and what they think and what they want. This gentleman was completely disrespectful of my beliefs and believed that any action he took would be justified because clearly he was wrong and more educated than I was. that's not how you approach a discussion. If your approach shouldn't, even when you're like a missionary or, preaching your religion, your approach shouldn't be to, convert everybody no matter what. Your approach should be, let me teach you what my religion is all about, and then you make your own decisions. And I think that's how communication should always be. Now, whether if you're representing your faith, even if you don't tell people what your faith is, you should always be, let me teach you what we're about. Now, the person in the text conversation never learned what we were about because, well, there was a mistake and nobody was, helping them understand the mistake or to understand what was going on. And the same way that the gentleman I was just talking about, he didn't represent his faith or beliefs. I have no idea what his actual religion is. It's a Christian religion. That's the extent of my knowledge. But he didn't represent it very well because he felt that the only way to teach me, to show me what was going on with my beliefs and my religion was to, be as disrespectful and rude and inconsiderate about it as possible because I needed to be shocked out of the complacency of my own beliefs. And that's just not a good way to win the hearts and minds of other people. Anyone you convince of that will either not have a very firm foundation in their beliefs or will have been so bullied by you that they will abandon their beliefs out of fear of you. Neither of which makes for a good convert to Christianity or any religion for that matter. Or any concept, idea, philosophy, whatever. Anyway, that's the video. Let me know what you think. My personal opinion is this actually kind of works. Even with the flashing lights and so on that happen on occasion in this game, I'm thinking this works, and I just might start up my Sunday school thing again. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe if that's what you're into. Or if you enjoyed this, like and subscribe. I don't know why I said it that way. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Bye.